really good piece published this morning, I think it was. And it's I didn't commission this. I got a call from a good old mate of mine, Scott Lee from Tairua. And Scott said, I've written a piece about my dad for Anzac Day. I'd love you to publish it. And I read it and I said, of course I will, mate. It's a good piece. It's called The Late Arrivals Case. And it's a story about Scott's dad, who was a fighter pilot in World War II and got incarcerated and made a prisoner of war, but escaped and got back to his own people and was awarded the Late Arrivals Club medal. It's a boot with some wings on it. It's a lovely story. And not because it's an unusual story. There are so many of these stories of service and sacrifice. And I know we think primarily of World War I, no one left from there. World War II, very rare to have World War II veterans now, but anyone who has served and been prepared to or made the ultimate sacrifice for New Zealand. Look, Anzac Day could be many things to many people. I think for various reasons, and I do realise I see this from my own cultural perspective and through my heritage, I think Anzac Day is the most sacred day of the New Zealand calendar, bar none. And you do not have to be a white Anglo-Saxon post-colonial to appreciate what Anzac Day is about camaraderie, about sacrifice, and those things, those ideals transcend ethnicity, almost transcend nationhood. So I think it's an important day. It is Thursday this week. How do we mark it? How do we respect who is it for? I think really an important interview. So we're joined by Mark Compain. He's the RSA Remembrance Committee Chair, and he joins us on the line now. Mark, thank you for joining us. Thanks for your time.
Good morning, Sean. Thank you for having me.
All right, Mark, it is, I think, the most important day in the New Zealand calendar and the most important holiday. How do we, in general, mark Anzac Day? What's a good way to approach Anzac Day if we wish to commemorate it?
All right. Right. As you mentioned before, there's a few threads to that, so I'll try and keep my answer coherent because there are a number of issues to weave into that tapestry. But I think first and foremost, it's a time to just stop and pause and remember those who have served and sacrificed in the cause of something bigger for themselves. And what we hope, and certainly in my role as a professional soldier and where I served overseas, we hope that it is for the right reasons and to ultimately to protect those who cannot protect themselves. So in one sense, it is fundamental to remember those who have served, those who lost their lives, those who lost their health, both physically and or psychologically, and the impact on their families as they came home with those wounds and illnesses, and how that trauma and stress has echoed through our generations. To right through to, well, what does it mean to be a New Zealander? What responsibilities do we have as a citizen when we consider the price paid for those freedoms that we enjoy today? So I think that to me is really key. Some form of remembrance, but again, beyond Anzac Day, we have heard stories and it's been described by those who have been before us, and certainly from my generation. What we would like to see is people remembering on a day-to-day basis what the cost has been and what that means to go about our business as citizens on a daily basis. Supporting our fellow citizens. Yeah.
Is there a danger, and gosh, you look at, honestly, the state of the world at the moment and what people are prepared to pick up a flag and wave and protest for. Is there a danger this year that Anzac Day becomes politicised yet again with people, I don't know, shouting from the river to the sea and thinking it's all about contemporary politics and what the government's doing wrong and what they don't like about the world?
Yeah, I think that we have a tradition in New Zealand to keep Anzac sacrosanct in the sense that this is about remembering those who served.
Yeah.
And when I say served, I'm talking about those men and women who are serving, have served and never got a chance to go overseas. They signed the dotted line, they stood ready, and many of them lost their health regardless because of the demands of military service. So, our hope and our wish is that we leave Anzac Day to remember those who served and what it means to be a citizen. Many of us would defend. That's what we did, right?
Yeah.
We defend the rights of those to have their own way of thinking and to express that in an appropriate, safe way. But we certainly wouldn't want to see Anzac Day politicised.
Yeah. Mark, do you think that Anzac Day is, or the idea of it, is accessible to all New Zealanders? And I said in my intro, look, I go back, one of my mother's uncles landed at Gallipoli on day 2. Served from the first day of the First World War to the end of it, demobbed, huge psychological problems, riddled with venereal disease. But he served. And I found, later in life, I found a whole lot of letters and postcards from him. And it was really a tragic story. And it kind of got me closer to what Anzac might have been about. I've never served. There are a whole lot of people now in New Zealand who come from different countries, different parts of the world. They come here as immigrants. Do you think they get it? And do you think the message of Anzac is universal, or is it only for some New Zealanders?
No, I think I believe, and then certainly this is what the Remembrance Committee and the RSA strategy is being developed around, is making sure that there is a connection for all peoples in New Zealand to its military heritage and the men and women and the families of our armed forces. And it's interesting when you think about different people coming here from different countries. Many of those people are from countries where our defence forces served on the land, in the sea, and the air.
Yeah.
And so for many of them, the military service is probably closer to their heart because they have come here to escape war and conflict and the detritus of that, and so may because they have first-hand experience, have a closer relationship to Anzac. As our wars and conflicts have been fought by smaller and smaller parts of our population, as opposed to expeditionary forces of citizen soldiers to small professional forces, our first-hand experience is not universal. And so in our strategy, we are looking at ways to actually address that and make sure that Anzac is universal, and that despite the tyranny of distance, there is an identification with that service, and goes beyond the world wars, and it goes beyond Vietnam. Many of my generation who have served in Bosnia, Timor, Afghanistan, and the seas and airs around the Middle East,
we've got people serving now on active duty as part of that coalition in the Mideast. Yeah. So it's so secret we can't say what they're doing. But there are New Zealanders deployed all over the world right now and on their Anzac Day.